Look at this. Not a single weed growing. No chemicals used. No expensive sheets installed. All I used was old newspapers I'd already read. You might find it hard to believe, but this is the truth. Every summer, doesn't the same thing happen? Before you know it, your garden is covered in lush green weeds. You bend over in the blazing heat, pulling them out one by one. You finally finish, and 2 weeks later, they're back again. Many people are exhausted by that cycle. This problem can actually be solved with almost no money, and with something you have at home right now. Today I'll walk you through the specific method, step by step. If you read to the end, you can start putting it into practice this very afternoon. First, let me be honest with you. Have you ever used herbicides and weed control sheets for years, yet somehow weeds still come back every year? That's not because you used them wrong. Herbicides have a structural limitation. They can kill the grass growing on the surface, but they can't reach the seeds sleeping in the soil. According to experts, a single square meter of garden soil may contain millions of dormant weed seeds. Even after surface weeds disappear, the seeds in the soil quietly wait for the next season. This is the real reason weeds come back year after year. What about weed control sheets? Walk into any home improvement store and you'll see products labeled effective for 10 years. But in reality, plastic and polyester sheets exposed to strong UV rays begin developing invisible microcracks within about 3 years. Through those tiny gaps, even tougher weeds push their way through. And there's more. Black plastic sheets become extremely hot on the surface under direct summer sunlight. Microorganisms and earthworms in the soil can't survive that environment and gradually disappear. The soil becomes compacted, drainage worsens, and the land loses its natural vitality. In other words, the very sheets you laid to prevent weeds may have been slowly damaging your soil over time. Something done with good intentions turned out to be a burden on the soil. That's worth knowing. So why is newspaper the answer? There are 3 things a plant absolutely cannot live without: water, air, and light. Of these, light is the key to preventing weed germination. No matter how resilient a weed seed is, it cannot germinate without light. This is a fundamental principle of plant biology, no exceptions. The main component of newspaper is cellulose, a natural fiber made from wood. When cellulose absorbs moisture, the fibers interlock and conform tightly to the contours of the ground. Think of it as pressing a thin, strong membrane against the soil's surface. This membrane effectively blocks the light that weed seeds need to germinate. This is the decisive difference from plastic weed sheets. Plastic sheets block light, but also obstruct the flow of water and air into the soil. Newspaper is different. It doesn't let light through, but it allows rainwater to slowly seep into the soil and lets air pass through freely. It delivers only what soil microorganisms and earthworms need, while blocking only weeds. That is the natural mechanism newspaper provides. This isn't just intuition, there's research behind it. A study by Pennsylvania State University reported newspaper mulching as one of the effective materials for suppressing weed growth in organic farming. Texas A&M University's Agricultural Extension Service also demonstrated that layering 4 to 6 sheets of newspaper on the soil and covering with organic material can prevent most weeds for the season. A method confirmed by researchers over many years, and you can practice it right now with something already in your home. What about ink safety? Many people worry that ink from newspapers might leach into the soil and harm plants. This was once a concern with some validity. However, most newspapers published in Japan today use ink made from soybean oil. This ink breaks down naturally in the soil and leaves no harmful substances. In fact, as newspaper itself decomposes over time and returns to the earth, it becomes a nutrient source for microorganisms and helps enrich the soil. Newspapers you would have thrown away end up nourishing your garden soil. This isn't an exaggeration. It's the natural cycle playing out right in your garden. One note: colorful flyers and glossy magazine pages may use different ink formulations. Stick to standard black and white newspaper to be safe. Step-by-step instructions. Nothing complicated. No special tools or expertise required. All you need is old newspapers and a little time. 5 steps. Let's go through them. Step 1. Prepare the ground. The first thing to do is not try to pull every weed out by the root. This is an important point. Every time you dig deeply into the soil, seeds buried deep underground get brought closer to the surface. In other words, the harder you dig, the more you inadvertently create an ideal environment for new weeds. There's only one thing to do here. Use a sickle or scissors to cut the weeds down to about 1 centimeter above the ground. That's it. Leave the roots in place. Leave the cut grass where it falls too. It will become the first layer of organic fertilizer beneath the barrier you're about to build. Deprived of all light, the roots will gradually lose their strength and naturally transform into soil nutrients. Step 2. Water the soil. Once you've finished cutting, use a hose to water the ground thoroughly. Aim for the soil to be moist to a depth of about 3 centimeters. The reason: if you place newspaper on dry soil, the paper and soil won't bond properly. Moist soil acts as a natural adhesive, pulling the newspaper tightly against the ground. This extra step makes a big difference in the final result. For summer work especially, water in the morning and let the soil settle before moving to the next step. Step 3. Lay down the newspaper. This is the core step. Lay newspaper over the ground. There are 2 essential rules to follow here. Rule 1. Always layer 10 to 12 sheets thick. Fewer than this and strong summer sunlight may partially penetrate, giving weeds a chance to germinate. Too many and airflow to the soil is restricted. 10 to 12 sheets is the ideal balance, completely blocking light while still allowing the soil to breathe. Since dry sheets are easily blown by wind, work by laying a few sheets at a time as you go. Rule 2. Overlap adjacent sheets by at least 15 centimeters. Weed roots have a tendency to sense even tiny traces of underground light and grow sideways toward it. A 15-centimeter overlap completely closes off that escape route. If the seams are careless, weeds will break through right there. Overlap carefully and thoroughly. These 2 rules are the absolute conditions for keeping this system working long-term. Step 4. Secure the newspaper to the ground. Once the layers are down, gently spray water over the top using a shower setting. You'll see the newspaper absorb the water, become heavy, and conform closely to the shape of the ground. This ensures the newspaper won't blow away in strong wind and forms a layer that's essentially fused with the soil. After watering, look over the whole area and check for any lifted sections or gaps. Addressing them now ensures a stable result. Step 5. Finish with organic material. The final step completes the system. Over the wet newspaper, spread bark chips, leaf compost, wood chips, or similar organic material to a uniform depth of 5 to 8 centimeters. This finishing layer serves 2 purposes. 1. It conceals the newspaper and improves the garden's appearance. 2. It protects the newspaper from UV rays and weather, extending its effectiveness. The moment you lay this organic layer, the atmosphere of the garden changes completely. A well-tended, calm space takes shape. One caution: don't lay newspaper directly against the base of trees or flowers. It can interfere with root respiration. Leave about 10 centimeters of space around each plant base. Maintenance in following years. After 1 to 1.5 years, when the newspaper has fully returned to the soil, it's time to start a new cycle. The soil should be noticeably softer and richer by then. Simply repeat the same steps. You don't need a major overhaul every year, just supplement where needed as you observe the conditions. Common questions. How many days' worth of newspaper do I need? It depends on the size of your garden, but for a typical home garden, 1 to 2 months of accumulated newspaper is usually sufficient. If you're short, neighbors, libraries, or people about to recycle their papers are often happy to share. Is it okay during rainy seasons? Absolutely. Rain actually helps the newspaper adhere firmly to the soil. If heavy rain washes away some of the organic material, just top it up and the effectiveness continues. What if I already have weed control sheets down? If the sheets are already deteriorating, we recommend removing them and switching to the newspaper method. The soil underneath is likely compacted, so loosening it a bit to reintroduce air before relaying will speed up recovery. Summary. The root cause of weeds returning every year is the countless seeds sleeping in the soil. Herbicides don't reach those seeds, and weed control sheets slowly damage the soil over time. Neither addresses the actual problem. Newspaper eliminates the very conditions seeds need to germinate by blocking light, while still allowing water and air through. Over time, it returns to the earth and leaves the garden richer than before. The steps are simple. 1. Cut weeds down to ground level. 2. Water the soil thoroughly. 3. Layer 10 to 12 sheets of newspaper, overlapping edges by at least 15 centimeters. 4. Water the newspaper to press it firmly against the ground. 5. Cover with 5 to 8 centimeters of bark chips or leaf compost. That's all. All you need is old newspaper and a little time. You can start this weekend. If you try this method, please share your experience in the comments. Even small changes are worth mentioning. Someone else struggling with weeds might take their first step because of what you share. This channel regularly offers practical wisdom for improving your garden and soil using the power of nature without spending money. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you. Thank you for watching until the end.